Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to this very important meeting today, Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018, of the City of Portsmouth City Council Chambers. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, before you, you have the minutes of the September the 4th, 2018 public hearing. If there aren't any changes, we are in need of a motion. I
Commissioner Youngblood?
apologize. We need to back up. Sorry. We need to do roll call first. Planning Commissioners, we will now have roll call. Please indicate your presence electronically. 4 members of Planning Commission are present. Now, Mr. Chairman.
We are in need of a motion. Commissioner Youngblood?
Thank you, sir. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second, Commissioner Thompson?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. We have 4 members of Planning Commission are present. Okay. Now, we're going to go to commissioners. Before you, you have the minutes of the September the 4th, 2018 public hearing. If there aren't any changes, we are in need of a motion.
Commissioner Youngblood?
Once again, I make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay.
Commissioner Thompson?
And I will second that for the second time.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we're going to move on. Announcements of future meetings and conferences. Okay. Okay. Just votes. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a
We
second.
have a motion and a second, and you will be voting electronically. I need your button, the blue button to go off. Okay, and yours. Okay. Okay. We have a vote of 4-0. Can we move on now? Okay. Now, please note that our next scheduled work session is Tuesday, November the 6th, 2018 at 12:30, 6th floor conference room, followed by public hearing at 1:30 p.m. City Council chambers. Items reviewed today will be presented to City Council for action at their November the 13th or November the 27th public hearing, or as otherwise noted. Planning Commission rules limit a speaker up to 5 minutes to speak. We also ask that everyone please silence your cell phones at this time if you have not already done so. Our first hearing item is CP-18-01 citywide. The city is proposing to update its comprehensive plan. The new document will be titled Bill 1 Portsmouth. The plan will include an updated future land use map, strategies and tactics for achieving the identified goals, and recommendations for funding and tools for implementing the strategies and tactics. Copies of the proposed comprehensive plan can be found at all Portsmouth public libraries, in the offices of the Planning Department in City Hall, or online. Staff Coordinator is Brian Sweats.
So during our public hearing last month, we ran through the plan itself, the ideas, the way to use it as a tool. What I would like to do now is to focus on the changes and the updates that we have made to the plan since your last meeting. These changes and updates, were suggested by various state agencies and by civic organizations. So for example, the plan has to be approved by VDOT, and they made some suggestions. One of those was that we update the list of the projects from the 6-year improvement plan, which we have done. We have also added a new map that more accurately shows those projects. We have also renamed correctly this time the pilot project for a complete streets effort, which will be along High Street, and the picture that you see here is an example of a potential streetscape that you might see out there. The plan also needs to be approved by the Department of Environmental Quality to make sure that it's meeting the state's Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act requirements. The DEQ comments on the plan followed into three basic categories: that they wanted to see some more maps illustrating findings from data that we had. They wanted us to add more references to data sources, and they wanted us to update some of our tactics. So this map here is an example of something that meets two of these requirements, where it's a map and it's also a data source. This shows access to waterways based on state files. So this could be piers, these could be marinas, these could be public access ramps. The idea is to use data sources like this to express them visually through a map, and then to come up with a tactic that relates to it. So in this case, we added a tactic that said that we wanted to create more public access areas to waterways for Portsmouth citizens. We have also had a request from the Cavalier Manor Civic League. They have asked that we change the designation on the future land use map at 4358 Greenwood Drive. Currently, the future land use map suggests that this should be appropriate for multifamily development. The Civic League has asked that it be changed to low to medium density single-family residential development. Staff has looked at this and has come to the conclusion that if a change is warranted, we would recommend that the designation be most appropriate for this area would be mixed residential. Under mixed residential development, the goal is to have walkable, multimodal neighborhoods with a range of potential housing that could be anywhere from single-family residential to low-density multifamily. You also have the opportunity for neighborhood commercial, like say a little corner store. Staff is not recommending approval or denial of this idea, but if Planning Commission deems that this is a reasonable request and you would like to make this change, when you make a motion for the recommendation on the comprehensive plan, you need to add a condition that we change the future land use designation of 4358 Greenwood from multifamily residential to mixed residential. I would also like to take this time to acknowledge and thank Emily Crow, who is the project manager from McBride Dale Clarion. Emily and I have worked closely together for over 2 years now. I think this has been a very productive and professionally and personally enjoyable project for me. I hope that she feels the same way. I think that we've given you all a very, very good comprehensive plan. I've received a lot of positive feedback from planners around Hampton Roads when they've seen the plan. So I want to thank Emily for all her hard work, since she did most of the work here. I just read it. So thank you. Thank you, Emily. She also reminded me what I forgot to tell you in the work session, which was that part of our efforts involved having the plan analyzed by a couple of nationally renowned planners. The lead planner in this case was a man named David Rouse, who actually worked on the Destination 2025 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan. He reviewed our plan against the sustainability scorecard that we talked a lot about when we started this process. We just last week got his review back, and he said that we had met almost every requirement that was found in that scorecard, and that as APA, the American Planning Association, is looking at creating a certification program for comprehensive plans, that this would be an example of a plan that would score very, very well. So I forgot to mention that in the work session, but I would like to hype the work that Emily has done. With that, I will be happy to take any questions.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Sweat? Commissioner Thompson?
It's not really a question, just congratulations to you. Y'all did a fantastic job, and it is an incredible document, so thank you.
Any additional comments?
I should say I was remiss in not just thanking Emily, but also thanking you all, because you have also put in hours and hours of work into this plan, both from our work in the work sessions to coming out to our public meetings to helping us get the word out. So thank you to all of you as well. This is your plan. We're just trying to create it for you.
Yeah, Mr. Sweat, I would be remiss if I did not also take the opportunity to thank you for an outstanding job, and very special thanks to Emily and to the entire planning department for a job extremely well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Mr. Chairman. I
much.
appreciate that.
Any additional questions? Thank
Okay.
you. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item CP-18-01. If there's anyone here who would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Commissioners, the chair is in need of a motion for CP 18-01 with conditions if there are any. Commissioner Youngblood.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan with a change to the future land use of map designation of 4358 Greenwood Drive from multifamily residential to mixed residential.
Is there a second? Commissioner Thaxton. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second to approve CP-18-01 with conditions. You may vote electronically. We're having technical issues. Everybody's green. This item is approved 4-0 with conditions. Our next item, CA-18-03, citywide. The City of Portsmouth is proposing to amend the city zoning ordinance to modify the definition of offices, professional services, professional offices to include real estate offices, excluding them from offices sales. This will allow real estate offices in the historic limited office districts by right and allow real estate offices as professional offices with a use permit in the urban residential and urban residential high zoning districts. Our staff coordinator, Jonathan Hartley.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, I believe the Secretary has summarized the proposed amendment as it was advertised. Essentially, this is a fairly simple amendment allowing real estate offices as professional offices throughout the city. It was an item that was requested by City Council by motion of the Planning Commission, I want to say 2 months ago. The amendment addresses a concern that we had talked with property owner about. Mrs. Wise is here, who is a party of interest in this amendment, and just wanted to make sure you're aware that there is somebody shepherding this this amendment through the process, and I'll try to answer any questions that you may have on this item.
Commissioners, are there any questions for Mr. Hartley? Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item CA-18-03. If there's anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, we're having some technical difficulties. We're going to do a roll call vote.
The Commissioners, the chair is in need of a motion for CA 18-03.
As I call,
Commissioner Youngblood. I mean.
I did not make a proposal.
Commissioner Thompson.
I would like to make a motion that we recommend approval of the amendment to the city zoning ordinance to modify the definition of professional offices to include real estate offices citywide.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. The chair is in need of a second. Commissioner Thaxton.
I'd second that.
Madam Secretary.
okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will now have roll call. Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Youngblood, Commissioner Thaxton. 4 members of the Planning Commission have approved CA-18-03 with conditions.
Commissioners, there's one additional item that requires our attention this evening, discussion of lot consolidation text amendment. Mr. Hartley?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, City Council has requested that we consider another amendment to the zoning ordinance, and in order for staff to undertake that work, it requires either a resolution of City Council or a motion of the Planning Commission. The issue has to deal with lot consolidations, and we did discuss that in the work session. I'm hopeful that you all understand at least what the dilemma is. It's our task to figure out how to solve the problem. What it deals with is, in the city, historically, the development pattern occurred with multiple lots that were essentially acquired, 25-foot wide lots that were acquired either 2 at a time or 2.5 or 3 at a time. And where we've run into problems is where it's an improved lot and people would like to add an addition or do something fairly minor to the property, and before they can do that under the current standards, they have to eliminate any interior lot lines. And so we've been asked, again by City Council, requesting the Planning Commission by motion to address this, to look at that issue and come back with amendments, proposed amendments for your November 6th meeting. They're interested in addressing this issue as quickly as possible. So what I would recommend is a motion to study and prepare amendments for lot consolidations with an emphasis primarily on improved properties. And with that guidance, and I don't know if you want to add anything else, Bob, to that, or, okay. Again, with an emphasis on primarily improved properties, to be brought back to you for your November 6th meeting. Did that make sense? Okay. Questions, comments?
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Hartley?
She got a question.
Thank you, Mr. Hartley.
Thank you.
Commissioners, the chair is in need of a motion. Commissioner Thompson?
As part of the process of streamlining permitting and development for the city of Portsmouth, I would definitely love to see you guys study and propose an amendment to the lot consolidation efforts that you just discussed.
Commissioners, is there a second? Commissioner Youngblood, a second. Madam Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion and a second, and you will be doing roll call vote. Commissioner Williams?
Yes?
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Youngblood? Yes. Commissioner Thaxton? Yes. This item is approved 4-0.
Madam Secretary, I believe that concludes our agenda for today. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Commissioners, is there any further business? Mr. Baldwin, anything additional?
No, sir. Just like to thank you for your attention to our work session discussion today on that use table. I know it's a little bit dry at times, but certainly appreciate the planning commissioner's attention to that. And I have no further comments.
We appreciate receiving it in such a timely manner. There being none, this hearing is now adjourned.